White Hurricane Chapter 15. Everything was going great. He graduated high school, went to college and obtained a degree as a chemical engineer. He and his girlfriend discussed her dropping out of college when she discovered she was pregnant with their first child. He promised her if she would just be a full-time mother he would take good care of her and the baby, and explained to her how he was not comfortable with his child being in daycare around well-meaning strangers all day every day with so much going on in the world these days. She agreed. Rich promised her once the child was old enough to enroll in school, he would pay for her to complete her college degree, so she accommodated his request. It was all Rich ever wanted, a nice career and a loving family. He kept his promise to a great care of the family. They married, he purchased a comfortable home in a nice quiet upper-middle-class area and took the family on national vacations throughout the year and an international vacation annually. Victoria, his wife, who was also his college sweetheart, stayed busy going to the gym daily, where an open kiddie area was available for parents to look after their children while they get a nice sweaty workout in. She also arranged play dates with other stay-at-home moms from the neighborhood at parks, at each other's homes, or other kid-friendly locations. Victoria was enjoying her new family life and loved that she was fortunate enough to stay home with her child to be a full-time mother until he became school-aged. Then there was a pleasant surprise. Victoria thought she was pregnant again, but was not sure, so she did not say anything to Rich about it yet. However, it was confirmed at her OB/GYN visit that she was going to conceive baby number 2. She was delighted and couldn't wait to break the news to Rich. She decided to surprise him by having pink balloons floating around the house when he got home from work that read, "It's a girl." When Rich came home he thought Victoria was throwing a baby shower that she didn't tell him about for one of her friends. He asked her, "Which one of your friends is the lucky lady?" Victoria, happily and bashfully responded, "You're looking at her." He did a double take and said, "You're the pregnant one?" Victoria smiled and said yes. Rich scooped her up off her feet, gave her a huge hug and kiss and said, "That's wonderful, baby. I can't wait to share the news. Ricky is going to have an adorable little sister to care for and we are going to have an addition to the family." Victoria still wanted to go back to college eventually, but realized things don't always go as planned. She was happy that she was pregnant now so that the children would be close in age. By having another child at this time, both children could be in school before she went back to finish her degree. She and Rich decided 2 children were all they needed. Life continued to go on with family vacations, play dates, friendships with other stay-at-home moms in the neighborhood, socializing with other couples with children, dropping the kids off with family so they can have romantic dates sometimes, etc. The only thing that changed was the way they vacationed. This year, Rich decided the family would go on a road trip for their next getaway. Victoria was elated and thought that would be a fantastic idea and something different since they usually always flew to their destinations. Rich rented a mini RV for 2 weeks for the trip. They decided they would drive from Michigan to Florida to enjoy the everlasting summer temperatures there before the Michigan winter arrived. Rich and Victoria packed their bags, grabbed the babies, and excitedly hopped in the RV headed south towards the beaches and palm trees. By this time, Ricky was 2 years old and Stormy, the name they gave their daughter because it was a heavy downpour of rain, blustery wind, and lightning when she was born, was now 6 months old. It was October. Rich knew since the snow typically did not fall into November or December, if they head out early October, they would be back well before snowfall to avoid having to drive the family in the RV on slippery roads, leaving or coming back. Off to Florida they went. It was a 3-day drive since they stopped to sightsee in different cities they passed through and parked the RV to rest a few times prior to arriving to their destination in the Sunshine States. They had one of the best times of their life. They got a chance to see Florida's beautiful oceans, experience the nonstop waves, collected seashells at the beach, purchased souvenir t-shirts for themselves and the children, and bought magnets as well as keychains to give out to friends and family members when they returned home. They ate at oceanfront seafood restaurants and tried conch and oysters for the first time. They enjoyed them and said they would seek out places that served them when they got back to Michigan. Victoria even pulled a few seafood restaurants up on her cell phone to visit when they returned home. They decided at that moment to start exploring their palates a lot more when they traveled, as well as when they returned home instead of just sticking to the basics. This trip finally came to an end. It was time to pack up and go. They all had sun-kissed skin and took countless pictures and videos of memories that would last a lifetime. They could not wait to get back home to share their experience of the road trip with their family and friends. As they were driving up Interstate 75 heading home, they were finally back in Michigan and had just a few hours travel time left to arrive at the family home. However, things did not go according to plan. Although Rich planned to beat the snow by nearly a month's time, Mother Nature had other intentions. They ran into a blizzard that came outside of the usual snow season, about a month earlier than normal, putting a damper on the family's plan to make it home in plenty of time before what they thought would be the first snowfall. Rich decided to drive slowly for the last 3 hours, which he knew would turn into 9 hours by only driving 15 to 20 miles per hour in the snow. He did this for about 60 minutes and the weather became so inclement, he could no longer see out of the windshield even with the wipers on top speed and the defroster on full blast. This forced him to pull over on the side of the expressway under an overpass with his hazards on and headlights still beaming until the blizzard let up some. They had the radio on the weather station and the meteorologist was stating major snowstorms and the month of October typically do not commingle, and how the month usually brings cool, clear nights, with only the first frost of the season. The weather forecaster continued to explain how the current snowstorm is being very destructive, weighing down tree branches and power lines, causing them to break from the weight of the snow. In addition to gusty winds blowing the snow-covered trees and power lines violently around, potentially leading to a very damaging and dangerous situation. The media nicknamed the snow blizzard, White Hurricane. While they continued to wait on the side of the road for the snow to let up, a few other cars and trucks slowly passed by. However, even more vehicles were pulling over up and down the expressway as well. As they sat there, trying to make the best out of the situation, reminiscing about the trip, all of a sudden, out of nowhere, the RV received a colossal impact. It slammed to the side of the concrete underpass. It was crumbled like a balled-up piece of aluminum foil in a matter of seconds. Another vehicle who was pulled over heard the impact, although he could barely see exactly what happened because of the heavy, thick, bright snow and low visibility. He quickly called 911 to explain that he heard a loud booming sound and think there was an auto accident about 3/4 of a mile down from him, since he was also seeing what appeared to be a thick, black, smoke searing through the snow where a van or an RV he bypassed was pulled over under the overpass. An ambulance, police cars, and fire trucks arrived after the man gave the last exit and mile marker he remembered seeing before he pulled over. An 18-wheeler had struck the recreational vehicle. The truck driver was disoriented, walking in circles, and shivering as the officers and paramedics approached, repeatedly saying, "I did not see them, I didn't mean to do it, are they going to be okay?" The firemen had to use a hydraulic rescue tool to perform a vehicular extrication in order to cut the RV from around the family since their means of exit was impossible. The police put the truck driver in their backseat so he could calm down, explain what happened, and to see if he was under the influence of any substances. The family was rushed to the emergency room, and the medical staff tried their best to save the lives of the remaining survivors. The baby and toddler were dead on arrival, the mother was also unable to be saved, and the father survived with severe injuries. Rich was in intensive care for 2.5 months before being able to go home. Almost every bone in his body was broken, but amazingly no major organs were damaged. Rich's mother moved in to help take care of him until he was able to get back on his feet. He experienced survival remorse and even became suicidal. A year went past before he was able to walk again. Rich's entire personality changed. He never went back to work, although his employer wanted him to return. He stopped caring about life, himself and others. He refused to go to therapy or the support groups that medical staff suggested. He became increasingly angry due to the loss of his entire family. He began drinking heavily and using drugs, which was something he had never done before. He eventually asked his mother to leave, lost his home and vehicle and moved into a tent in the woods with other homeless people. Rich refused to get close with anyone and tried to emotionally distance himself from all of his family and friends so that he would not feel love anymore. He did not want to ever experience the pain of losing someone close to him again. His family was so worried about him, but realized it was what Rich wanted for now, was forced to respect his decision, and hoped that he would one day come back around. Words of wisdom: don't be so quick to judge someone because of their current circumstances. You never know where they have been, what they have been through, or who they have lost to cause them to be where they are.